so I will let you know once it's.
Yep.
All right, we're good to go.
Okay. Should I start?
Yes.
Cool. Hello, everyone. My name is Zainab Ayodimeji. I am a data scientist, and I've been creating data visualization for a few years now. I am also a Tableau ambassador, and I've been part of the Tableau community, hashtag Data Farm, for about 5 years. And one of the things that really helped me when I started my journey was joining live visualization reviews. It helped me so much to learn just from someone that's more experienced, how they think about analysis, design, storytelling when it comes to data visualization. And that is really the intention and the motivation behind starting this Biz Review Live session. So it's going to be a 30-minute bi-weekly session every Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. UK time. And it's meant to be like light, interactive, and focused on like practical feedback. And I'm going to be doing this with Chimdi, who I will let introduce himself.
Awesome. Thanks, Zainab. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Chimdi Nwosu. I'm based in Burnaby, Canada. I like to refer to myself as a data viz developer and designer. And right now, I specifically use Tableau, which I've been on now for about 5 years, which is how long I've officially been doing like data viz work. But before that, I kind of dabbled a little bit in other tools that are not Tableau. As far as my inspiration for doing this, it's just about the same. I remember starting out and going around with friends and people I went to school with who I thought could kind of give me feedback with stuff. And it was very superficial. It wasn't until I found the data fam that I really got to understand how to think about things when I got some feedback from, Makeover Monday. And so for me, any opportunity to kind of give back and give other people an opportunity to kind of, understand how to think about this stuff and how to be successful at it, I'm happy to give back. So, thanks for joining us. And I'm happy to be here as well.
Yeah, thank you. And I didn't mention where I was based, but I'm currently based in London, UK. And so yeah, just some I guess housekeeping before we get started is that I've mentioned this is meant to be like light, but we want to provide practical feedback, and so we'll try to be as constructive as possible. If you want to share your views to be reviewed, there's going to be a link. There's a link in the chat, but we can also post a link afterwards on the website where all the recordings will be. And what else? I think, yeah, we'll keep it fun, light, interactive, and practical. Hope you find this useful. And yeah, should we get started, Chimdi?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right. I am going to pull up the first Viz that was sent to us on Twitter. So using the hashtag Viz Review Live, and I'm going to share my screen. Just give me a second. Let me know when my screen is up.
Yeah, it's right there.
Cool. So yeah, Chimdi, take it away. What do you think?
So I think this is a viz by Emmanuel Fakoyade. I hope I said that correctly. It's about Africa's digital leap, uh, you know, in the next decade with AI and cloud connectivity. And so, this one here actually, I did get a chance to peek at it, and I will say it does stand out to me as already just very solid with respect to a nice layout. You can kind of see that there's a lot of white space there. Color is intentionally used, etc., etc. So I think this one, right off the bat, there's a lot working, and I'm not surprised. I'm very familiar with this guy's work. He's just been on a tear lately, so kudos to him for this. Feedback wise, if I could change anything, do you mind just scrolling down? Let me just make sure that
Yeah,
I
sure. Just let me
Yep,
know.
keep going, keep going, keep
Okay.
going, keep going, keep going, keep
A really
going.
long
Yeah,
Viz.
and that's the cool thing too. It is long, but I feel it's easy to follow. It just the layering and the layout makes that delivery of information really like hard, hitting. Now,
Okay.
this is just personal preference, but if you scroll back up, like everything, I would say I can definitely work with everything that I see going on here. The two biggest things, sorry, keep going, keep going. Yeah, 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 yeah. All right. So I don't know if there was kind of some thematic intents with this. Personally, the red seems harsh to me,
Hmm.
and it kind of delivers as though this is kind of something of great concern, which I don't know that it is. And so that's the first thing I'd say. There are many other choices of color that I can see working better than red here. That's my first thing. And
Right.
then the second other thing that I think stood out, if you scroll up a little bit,
Yeah.
sorry, the other way, to the title block. Yeah. So I'm not a fan of funky fonts. I do think there are times where they can work. In this case, I would say based on the topic, there is an opportunity to play around with some fonts and do some kind of technical, internet type whatever. But I wouldn't say that this font here kind of aligns with like a connectivity, like like I wouldn't say this font here does it. I would have just kept it simple, maybe like a serif font, like that's similar to this, but without that little gap in there. And I think that might be, maybe what it like a digital gap or something. But that's the thing for me. I would just keep the title simple, use a different color other than red. But to me, a lot works here, and I'm kind of curious. What do you think, Zainab, for this one?
Yeah, I think you've touched on the main point. I really like it's a long format, which that you get to see that sometimes with database. But I like how every section kind of focuses on like a particular topic, and it has its own intro, and I think it just made it very easy to follow.
Yeah, this is
Um,
a really
yeah.
good. It's really good, really well done. I think.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's very striking. It makes you really want to engage, like just the white space, the layout, and everything. One of the things that stood out to me, I think this is more, they've tried to do like a report style
Mm,
vase, which is more like graphical. But I was looking at this 51% box and I was thinking, okay, 51%. This is not a chart, right? I thought maybe this was like a tree map initially, just looking at it where this was like a proportion of
mm-hmm.
the entire box that I see. But then just like looking at that chart again and realize that, oh, this is just a bunch of metrics, key metrics put together. And so actually size of the boxes do not really mean anything. It's
Oh,
like
good
a style.
catch. Good catch.
So I think initially, I think that was one of the first things. Again, that could be like a style choice, but you want to be careful if your audience is looking at this thinking, oh, this is like a chart where you're supposed to consume as one, but then everything has different metric, different units, etc. So I think that's one thing that stood out to me. I definitely agree on the red. It makes you feel like you're on the cusp of danger,
Yeah.
and yeah, I think even a lighter, slightly lighter, like red or something could have worked in this case, but maybe this was a bit deep. And so
Oh, Emmanuel's here actually,
yeah,
the
yeah, and
author of this bit.
yeah, we're just talking
Okay.
about your yes, so welcome and thank you for joining us. I think overall to just recap, we really like the layout. We think it's very clear. Um, yeah, well delivered. And then we talked about the color. Maybe the color is a bit too deep. That makes you think that something is wrong drastically. So maybe just a lighter shade of color. And yeah, other than that, honestly, very well done. Great job with the long format as well. And I also like that it's very detailed. All the sources are kind of put there. So, World Bank, OECD, basically, or everywhere that this data is coming from. Yeah, I think good job overall.
Yeah. Nice one.
Yeah, should we do the next one?
Yep. Let's check out the next one. This was like I think this was like well, definitely like a
It's a
really
strong start.
really high bar.
Yeah,
Of course,
it's a really strong start. I
Yeah.
would say.
Well,
Okay.
everyone's at like different levels, and so I think to me that's kind of where I look at it is, you can kind of look at this and tell this is not necessarily like a complete beginner,
Yeah.
versus some of the other stuff might be. So just stuff to think about and keep in mind as we are going through them.
Yeah, so just pasting the next V's here. Um, Maybe I can get started with this one. I think for me, so this V is by Shreyash Baranwal. Again, hope I'm not saying that wrong, but I think one of the first things is I'm very conflicted as to where to pay attention to with these V's. It feels like there's a lot going on, and there's no, I mean, there is a title, How Skill Breadth Shapes Developer Pay, but there's no clear guidance on how to consume this. There's no clear overall title that makes you go, okay, this is what this visualization is talking about. And so I think initially I would definitely make the title bigger, so that things are clear. And there's also like 4 different charts. Just scanning here, it's saying the thing for first things that my eyes jump at. I'm looking at this kind of violin type chart, and I think this one sometimes is a little bit harder to interpret. So maybe just like a subtitle or like some definition here to just help the reader guide through what this means. What does log pay mean? What does lang breadth mean? Experience band, I think that's experience band. But I feel like this to me, I kind of find confusing as to what the main story is. And I can say the same thing for most of the chat. I think the use of color also doesn't help me to focus. It just feels like my eyes are drawn to so many different places at once that it's hard for me to actually extract the information or the storytelling here. But I do see what the author is trying to do with like 4 different types of charts. But I think the final implementation can be cleaner, so maybe more white space, just like structuring things a little bit more. Yeah, I think those are like initial things that jump out to me. Chimdi, what do you think?
Yeah, I have a bit of a similar mindset towards this. I think in terms of where to start, there isn't one thing that jumps out to grab your attention, right? It just
Yeah.
seems to me like a bunch of stuff has been layered together. So I would recommend definitely a bunch of white space. I do actually think that something that's done really well here is, the annotations and,
Yeah.
the titles and subtitles and just kind of how that's laid there. Obviously there's some room, but I think the intent is good. But I would say the biggest room to grow here would be the layout. So maybe either a Z layout or a F layout or whatever, you want to use. Pick one and just execute on it. But I'd say right now that's the biggest thing here would be the structure of this isn't 100% clear. And the other thing is I can see that the colors haven't not really been thought out from an insights delivery perspective. Ideally, one of the biggest things to keep in mind with color is they are a very powerful tool in data visualization.
Yeah.
However, they need to be used very intently, I guess, or intentionally is the key here. And so that's the main thing. I say just rethink the layout, just think through intentionally how we want to leverage colors to communicate insights. And of course, when it comes to colors, just don't use the defaults. Like we can see here, those aren't really saying,
Yeah.
not saying too well. But with those two major things, I think it can work. I like some of these. Like I'm a big fan of the boneless business. By boneless, I mean just on the white background and like just layout with. I love that kind of style, and I think that this kind of leans into that. With some of these changes, they could really get something solid going here.
Yeah, I agree. I think maybe just one more thing is also I'm looking at this chart here, trying to figure out what the colors mean, but then the legend is way all over to like a different
Yeah,
part of the dashboard. So maybe bringing things that are related together, so that it helps with quick insight as well.
that
I
logical
think
grouping is key. It's
yeah,
key for success. I think like just ultimately we want to give the users as much of an intuitive, like this to go through. So that way, a lot of things just kind of naturally, you know, sit well with them. They don't have to wonder too much. Because once they have to wonder, that's it. They're just gonna abandon and move on.
Yep. I see some interactivity going as well.
Yeah, I like
Um,
that.
but yeah,
That's always
overall,
fun. Filters interactivity is always good.
yeah. Cool. I'm going to move over to the next viz we have here, and I'm just pasting the link, which looks like this. It's a
Mm,
broken link. So let me
that's what we
just,
found.
yeah, I'm gonna
Just give
just,
you a different. Okay.
yeah, this is a different one. And maybe Chimdi, you can start here.
Nice. This is another Viz sleep health metrics and analysis by Kavya Basireddy. I know I didn't say that correctly, but Kavya, to say that. With this one, I'd say some of the things that are working, it's light in the sense that there aren't that many visuals. Um, though there is some room to improve, there is kind of some breathing white space around the charts. And the thematics, right? Average sleep duration by occupation, sleep disorder by BMI category, sleep duration by stress level. I think that overall the section choices work well, but again, just the ordering of things would be, could be improved a little bit here. Um, Now, I would say some additional context. So, like a major title and a subtitle to say, here's what this viz is about. Here's how to use this viz. Maybe some kind of intro summary that I think will be very helpful. And just general organization. Like we can see some filters at the bottom, at the top right. And I think that I understand they're trying to intentionally just put it where it seems like where it's relevant. But I'd say having a filter at the bottom, just like that, it can get missed, right? It's not the most easiest to find. And that's about it for me. Again, this is a boneless one. No, like the white background, I think it works well. Coloring, just again, maybe think through that as well. Um, it seems as though color was added with the intent of just creating like blue is good, green is bad, but also at the bottom there is just like I think just more context and understanding for what's what again would be helpful.
Yep, yep. I agree with everything you've said. I think there are some things that this author has done I like. For example, I like this average kind of reference line
Mm,
just to give you a sense of like this is the share of I guess occupation that is above that sleep above the average, and then the one sleep duration below the average. But maybe color could have been used purposefully to highlight that, right? So instead of just like a gradient green blue, maybe one color represents the occupation that is below the average, and then
mm,
the other color represents occupation that is above the average. Something at least that way it feels more connected and tied to the story rather than it just being like a random way to color like the occupation. I also like this kind of scatter plot here, but I don't know what this one point is referring to. Is this just like overall average? Should all the other occupations be there as well to help with the comparison? I think that's just a bit unclear to me because it then makes this legend kind of just pointless in a way, right? But yeah, I think other than that, it feels light and it feels easier to read, but definitely a bigger title and some introduction to the dashboard or to what the story is here will kick it up a notch. And also like the name, like putting your name on top of your V's. I used to make that mistake when I started, but like it's always very important to just like have your name there because you never know who is having a look or where they're having a look.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, cool.
nice.
I am going to move us over. I think we have two more. I think we should be able to do the last two on the.
9:57. Yeah, we can
Yeah, we'll see.
we can
See how
do
we
it.
get on. All right.
Yeah. Okay, thank
So
you. You can start us off on this one.
yes. So this viz actually. Let me look at the name of the author again. They don't have the name of on the viz. So Neola Tsa is the author for this viz, and it's about understanding employee turnover drivers. To start with, it looks like some intention has been put into how this would be, the layout of this, right? So you can see four clear boxes, a big title on top, subheading for like each chart. So I think there's some thought around how to lay out these viz, but I would say that in terms of layout, personally, this is a personal choice. I would prefer like a lighter contrast. It just feels like the background is yellow and then the box is white and then you have black borders. I think just to make things feel like light and modern, I think maybe just a lighter shade of background that is not orange. I'm not really sure if the orange or yellow is like adding anything new and it's clashing with kind of like the colors. But I think that's very minor, right? That's very, very minor. Now looking into the visualization itself, I'm seeing this lollipop chart and it's used to look at the attrition rate. But to me, I'm not really getting that like difference, right? I can't really tell. There's no height difference between like 16.1 and 16.4. These are very close anyway in percentage. So I wonder if there's like a different chart choice could have been made here. Maybe just even showing the text since like this do not even really, the difference between them is not a lot. If you round it off, it's basically 16%. So yeah, I guess rethinking this chart, I'm not sure if this circle or this lollipop is like effective in communicating difference or in communicating the share. So I think that's one thing that like stands out to me. And also here, the same feedback around the chart choice, right? So we have like a tree map here. And again, I'm scanning. I mean, only looking at this vis for a few minutes, but I don't really know what each individual box means, and I feel like it's kind of hard to interpret like what the story here is, just by glancing at it. Right? If I were to attempt, I think each box is employee number, but I don't know why that is, right? So I think that for me was it's just like hard to interpret. But I would say like the chart here is a better use. I mean, sometimes you're just safe using a bar chart to communicate what you want. I think the chart choice here is a better use of chart type really. I think the bar chart just works. You can immediately see the satisfaction level. But again, I'm not okay. I don't understand what the axis is. So it goes from 1.3 to 1 to 1.7. I think some ordering there. I think it's been ordered by attrition rate, but yeah, I'm not sure. I'm reflecting now. I'm thinking, okay, I'm not sure what this is meant to be. I thought I did, but just looking at it more, I'm not sure. So maybe just like putting an axis title or just making sure that it's clear to the reader what the axis is and why it's ordered this way could be another way to improve on this. And yeah, this looks like an error from a third party AS connection. So maybe just like double checking after you've published things as well, just to make sure that nothing has broken could be helpful. Chimdi?
Nice, nice. Yeah, I think I agree with a lot of that, all of that, I should say, even. Um, to me, I would say just right off the bat, the title, Understanding Employee Turnover Driveways, right? That gives an idea of,
Yeah.
okay, here's the information you're going to be looking at, right? I do think that, it's spacious. The charts are nice, large, and visible. Obviously, I think there's room for improvement when it comes down to, I'm going to say, minimizing clutter and chart junk. So, a lot of the borders are being intentionally made dark. A lot of,
Yeah.
the titles are being shaded in. Everything is just like hard hitting. The opposite is what we need to be trying to doing to be doing. So, these borders, they don't convey information. These grid lines, like everything, just it's hard to know what's of more importance. There isn't any hierarchy there with the
Yeah.
fonts, and I would say coloring. The red and blue combo. It makes me think of, is this related to like elections? Is
Yeah.
this related to politics? So I might go with a different complementary palette, and kind of like same thing you mentioned there, the chart selection, I think, like if we look at the top left, right, we have the attrition rates and then the performance rating. But, three
Yeah.
and four, what does that mean? How is 16.1 performance rating of three, but 16.4, we have a jump to the next level. So the context isn't clear there.
Yeah.
Similar to the chart on the right hand side, the overall length, I would say, okay, sure, that probably communicates that, you know, I actually don't know what that communicates. So I think
Yeah.
maybe a bit more clarity
Mm-hmm.
into, so attrition by number of previous companies worked. Attrition, no. Attrition, yes. So
Yeah.
no, people stayed. So maybe the boxes are the number of previous companies worked, but then it's made into a tree map,
True.
which would indicate that somehow they should total 100, which I don't believe. So chart selection definitely needs to be reviewed here,
Yeah.
just from the perspective of what are you trying to show. I don't like, apart from the bottom left, like you mentioned, even just the axis for the bottom left, they may not work, but chart selection, I'd say needs to be thought through here. But overall, I think the intent with respect to just communicating here's what we're trying to show. I think that's good, but I'd say actually now thinking through what do you want us to see here, making that a bit clearer makes it easy. Because at the end of the day, right, with something like this, why are you communicating employee turnover drivers, right? You want to be able to understand where is
Yeah.
it happening, right? So maybe you can do something about that. And it's not clear to me here that there's any indication of what action can be taken with that information. So just thinking through, here's what we want to show, here's what we're going to use, aka what chart type, and then we're going to show it in a way where we want to show these actions. So those are the major things that I would say. But overall, again, just from the perspective of where's this person at, you can kind of tell, like, this may not be someone who has spent as much time as, say, Emmanuel in our first biz. This person might basically still need to engage and understand some of those concepts of the principal rules of data visualization, whatever those are called. That would be helpful here. Um,
Yeah.
but
Agreed.
overall, again, solid attempt on this one.
Yeah. And the best thing you can do is try, like, if you need to just get the work out there, and that's the only way to improve. So, yeah.
Repetition, repetition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we do the last one or?
Let's do quickly. We can do one more quickly.
Okay, I'll do it quickly.
Just
I'll
because
just,
we didn't start right at 9:30, so
yeah, exactly. And so we started, I think, 5 minutes late. So we can do it quickly. I think this is the V's, and okay, that's it. I think you should go, Chimdi.
okay. So for this one, again, I'd say just the foundationals need to be taken care of. Like it's nice to kind of see AI adoption and developer insights, Stack Overflow survey. Seems very generic, but at least I know what I'm looking at. The titles: global AI intensity by country, PAI versus AI intensity, developer role transition flow. Right. I think that the intent with this, the AI intensity versus like this stuff, the thinking around what to show and how to show it is there, right? So if I were building a viz, I can see myself actually using some of these charts. I would size them differently, color them differently, space them differently, and
Yeah.
I think that here, there might be room to have a bit more, to be a little bit more elaborate with annotations and notes and just things for the user there. It feels like it's just a chart dump right now, but we need to think through that structure. Like I think for a lot of the ones we're seeing today, that's the theme I'm noticing for today's business.
Yeah.
What is the structure, right? Information hierarchy is important, and so thinking through, this is the message and this is how I'm going to deliver that is important, right? So that's just for me with this one. I just say, you know feels like chart dumps, but the charts themselves work well, and this could really pop out much better. Just think through the layout of information, and shift away from your defaults. Functional aesthetics can be leveraged here.
Yeah.
How about you, Zainab? What do you think about this one?
I think everything you've said, I feel like another thing that I think is missing is I don't have any number, right? There's no clear number. So like global AI intensity by country, what is the unit? Like, is it a percentage? Is it a score? Like I'm looking at the tooltip now, which I guess actually good job for adding the tooltip. And I'm seeing that there's some average AI intensity score. But like I couldn't tell that just by looking at the visualization. So maybe just highlighting if you have overall big numbers, or at least making it clear what the metric actually is on the dashboard. And yeah, I feel like I don't want to kind of spend more time, but thinking through the storytelling as well. It's like, what am I trying to communicate here, and what is the best way to let people using this dashboard get quick insight on that, right? So if it's that I want to communicate that the adoption is slow, am I using the right charts to communicate that? If it's more about like the global difference, am I communicating that in the right way? So just having a sense of like, this is the insights, or this is the story I want to tell. And if it's exploratory, that's also fine, but just making that come through in the way you decide to present your charts. And yeah, I think that will take it up a notch. Cool. Thank you. And thanks everyone for joining. Emmanuel, thank you for joining. I'm just going to wrap it up here. And this is the first one. So I'm excited that we're able to start. And we'll be doing this thank you. And I'm doing stop sharing. We'll be doing this every 2 weeks. And so if you want to share your Viz, you can use the hashtag VizReviewLive on Twitter, or join the Tableau community Slack, all of which will be in the link on the chat. And yeah, if we recorded this, so we hope to publish this live. So yeah, TBD on that. Also, if you make any updates or edits to your Viz based on review, please feel free to tag us. Would love to see that. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks for joining.
All right. All right. See you in 2 weeks then. Bye.
All right. Bye.
Did you stop the stream? Oh, are we still?